500 years, one island controlled the flow of African gold to the world. Not Europe, not Arabia, an African city-state. Merchants crossed oceans to reach it. Kings bowed to its wealth. And then 20 ships arrived. By the end of a single day, flames erased an empire history barely talks about. This is the story of Kilwa, the Swahili island that ruled the Indian Ocean, and how it fell. Watch till the end. Because Kilwa's final betrayal explains why Africa's richest cities disappeared from global memory. Please subscribe and welcome to Echoes of Reborn Africa. According to Swahili tradition, Kilwa was founded around 957 CE by Ali ibn al-Hassan Sirasi, a Persian noble fleeing an inheritance conflict in Shiraz. After being rejected in Mogadishu, Ali sailed south until he reached a small island off today's Tanzanian coast. Legend says he bought the island from a local Bantu ruler using enough cloth to encircle it. Then he did something incredibly strategic. He destroyed the land bridge connecting Kilwa to the mainland. Kilwa was now defensible, isolated, and perfectly positioned to build an empire. Kilwa sat at the very crossroads of the Indian Ocean trade network. From inland Africa came a constant flow of gold, ivory, iron, and enslaved labor. And from overseas, merchants brought silk from China, ceramics from Persia, glassware from Arabia, and spices from India. But Kilwa's true power came from one specific place. Sofala. Sofala was the gateway to the massive gold fields of the Zimbabwe plateau. Whoever controlled Sofala controlled the entire flow of African gold, and Kilwa did exactly that, cementing its dominance over the region. The early Shirazi dynasty quickly transformed Kilwa from a small settlement into a serious rival to the powerful city-state of Mogadishu. By the late 13th century, power shifted to a new ruling house, the Modali dynasty, which had origins in Yemen. But this wasn't a sign of decline. In fact, it was the beginning of Kilwa's golden age. The new dynasty consolidated power, expanded its influence, and laid the foundations for a level of wealth and architectural splendor that would astonish the world. Under Sultan Muazzam ibn Sulaiman, a ruler so generous he was known as Abu al-Mawahid, or the father of gifts, Kilwa reached its absolute zenith. The famous traveler Ibn Battuta visited the island in the 14th century and described it as one of the most beautiful and well-constructed cities he had ever seen. The Husune Kubwa Palace, a magnificent complex of courtyards, halls, and a massive octagonal swimming pool, became the largest stone structure in all of sub-Saharan Africa. Kilwa even minted its own gold and copper coins, a clear sign of its sovereignty and economic might. These coins would later be found as far away as Australia. This was not just some village. This was a thriving African maritime empire. But immense wealth always attracts rivals, both from outside and within. By the late 1400s, Kilwa was being torn apart by internal power struggles. Viziers and emirs grew so powerful that they became kingmakers, installing and removing sultans at will. The political stability that had underpinned Kilwa's prosperity was crumbling. In 1495, this instability reached its peak when Emir Ibrahim ibn Suleiman murdered the last Modali Sultan and seized the throne for himself. His rule was widely seen as illegitimate. Kilwa's traditional allies began to abandon the island and its defenses weakened. And that's exactly when Europe arrived on the scene. The Portuguese weren't just explorers. They were economic predators, hungry for a share of the Indian Ocean's riches. In 1498, Vasco da Gama sailed into these waters, disrupting centuries-old trade networks. By 1502, his fleet appeared before Kilwa, threatening to bombard the city into submission. The weakened Sultanate was forced to pay a humiliating tribute. Kilwa had submitted, hoping to appease the newcomers. But the Portuguese wanted much more than just tribute. They wanted total control. In July 1505, Francisco de Almeida arrived with a fleet of 20 warships. When Kilwa resisted further demands for submission, the Portuguese attacked with overwhelming force. They stormed the city, looted its treasures, and set it ablaze. Emir Ibrahim was driven into exile, and the Portuguese installed a puppet ruler to serve their interests. To cement their conquests, they built Fort Santiago over Kilwa ruins, a permanent symbol of foreign domination. In a single brutal campaign, 500 years of African dominance in the Indian Ocean came to a fiery end. The Portuguese actually abandoned Kilwa by 1512, finding it difficult to manage, but the damage was permanent. The ancient trade routes that had enriched the island for centuries shifted. Power moved north to other ports, and Kilwa, once the glittering jewel of the Indian Ocean, faded into silence and ruin. Kilwa wasn't destroyed because it was weak or backward. It fell because it proved something dangerous to the emerging European powers: that Africa could dominate global trade and create immense wealth entirely without them. If this story surprised you, share it. Because history didn't simply forget. Kilwa was deliberately erased. Thank you for watching.